Hello students, your instructor here, John Medula within a screencast. This one is the video study guide about Photoshop. So I thought I'd just go in Photoshop, we demo through a bunch of things, make sure everyone is on the same page. So we're going to start it here. I'm going to rifle through these things. Sponge tool. Sponge tool can be found here, and what it does is it can desaturate or saturate things. So if I want to saturate my mouth area, maybe go like this. Notice my lips are getting clown-like, and they just get brighter and brighter and brighter, and I can also desaturate with it as well. Smudge, that can be found right over here. Smudge, what that does, it allows me to actually move around the pixels like this. Alright? So it's very crazy. That's what smudge does. Now, sharpen is interesting. It's actually under here, and I'll go to sharpen. And what this is going to do is it's going to enhance the contrast. You can see that as I paint over this with the brush, how I get a really dark spots and really light spots. So that's what sharpen does, it enhances contrast. Next is shadow highlight. What that would do is, say if I stepped back here, I would say maybe what I want is for the dark areas to not be so dark. So I go to image adjustments and shadow highlights. I can bring this over here. I can play with how much detail I want to try to gain back in the shadows. So notice my hair is trying to show a lot more highlighted areas instead of just being straight black in the image. I can also do the opposite if I wanted to, whereas the lighter images can start getting darker. Things like that. So I'll hit OK. Next we have PSD. So if I were to save this as a layered file, or even a not layered file, I could save this as a Photoshop image, which as you can see is PSD. That's a native file format for Photoshop. Polygonal lasso tool. So if I wanted to select an area around me, what I could do is grab right here the polygonal lasso tool and just click, 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 click. So I'm using little segments as I make a selection area. That's the polygonal lasso tool. Next we have opacity. So if I make a new layer, let's see. Well, I don't have to make a new layer. I just show this, the opacity right over here. I can dip that down. Alright. Another way to show opacity is in a brush. So I have a brush like this, and I have a color of, let's just say, fuchsia. And if I paint like this, it has opacity of 100%. If I make the opacity a lot lower, though, it becomes more transparent. I can see through it. Now, if I leave the opacity up, but take the flow way down, it's not opaque. It's just less intensely or less densely sprayed by the brush tool. So that's that. Now, if I back those up, levels. Levels is going to be image adjustments and levels. What this allows me to do is control how much of the area is going to go to dark, how much of the area is going to be light, how dark the darks will be, and how light the lights will be. So that's levels. Now curves, on the other hand, image adjustments. Curves, what I would often use this for is to adjust the colors of an image. So maybe if I want to adjust just the red channel, I can skew things like this to make things more red or less red. So curves I use to adjust the colors, generally speaking. Now, hue and saturation, what that's going to allow me to do is go here and I can adjust things like the hue, in other words the color of the image. I can adjust the saturation, how brightly saturated or desaturated is the image. I can also adjust the lightness and the darkness. So that's hue and saturation. The eyedropper tool is great. So if I want to paint some of the green in the background onto my face and I want the exact same green, I can have the eyedropper tool, and it gets the crosshairs, and I sample that green, and it now becomes my foreground color, so that when I paint, I'm painting with that green right on my face like that. The eyedropper tool samples colors from a different area. I have a dodge tool. It's actually going to be right here, and the dodge tool allows me to lighten things up a little bit, like in this case, my cheek area. Conversely, the burn tool is going to darken things. So if I want more shadows over here on this side of my face, I can use the burn tool. And last but not least, I would have the blur tool, which allows me to fuzzy things up. Notice how my mouth is getting very fuzzy. That's it.